Starting today with a quote from Wayne Dyer, "I am realistic. I expect miracles." Love the philosophy. I love the approach. Many of you I know on this call share that philosophy. With masterminding, you can actually be realistic and expect miracles all at the same time. So what's masterminding really about? Well, it's using the power of shared experiences. Fundamentally, it's about leverage. It's leveraging ideas and experiences, both good and bad. So how does the brain think? I don't know about you, but for me, sometimes my brain looks like this guy on the screen right now, where I feel like I've got contraptions wired to it all over the place. Maybe this is a new Google Glass or an early version, I'm not sure. But the brain actually thinks in pictures. It thinks in pictures. It doesn't think in lines and linear. And so the process of creative brainstorming, or masterminding, as we call it, mind mapping, as some of the software calls it, is about using how the brain thinks, which is pictures. Drawing an idea, connecting it to an idea, drawing another idea, branching it over here, branching out over here, and not forcing yourself to think in lines, because that gets you in the left side of your brain, the logical side, which is a very important part of succeeding in the world and operating in the world. But the creative side of your brain is the right side of the brain. And you want to tap in to that creative experience. And experience sharing is what it's all about, right? Maybe your experience is like this lady on the screen, where you've had some frustration and some challenges. Well, guess what? If you share that, chances are, and if we're listening, chances are we can learn from that shared experience. I was on a masterminding call yesterday. One of the ideas that was shared, it was actually a request for some ideas, and one of the persons responding had said, well, I've done exactly that, and here's what I did, and here's what it cost me, and here's what I'd suggest, and then I switched, and I did this, and here's the results I got. And basically, it just saved this other person months of frustration and thousands of wasted dollars, with the opportunity to earn tens of thousands with the new strategy, all because she'd asked, and someone in that mastermind specifically had been through the process, and off it went. So sharing experiences is a really good part. Overcoming challenges is another part, right? Maybe you're in your business, you're trying to balance an elephant on a ball, like this situation right here, and you're trying to find a way to overcome this challenge. Ooh, I hope the animation showed up on that one. So, right, you just don't know. So what you want to do is you want to get a group of people together and help them help you overcome these challenges. Maybe you need more money or people right now because you're fighting a fire and you've got a situation that you need to put it out. Right? Like this guy on the screen, right? Masterminding is about finding ways to brainstorm more money and more people right now to help you accomplish whatever you're working on. On the other hand, maybe you've got your business act together and you're ready to scale your business, and it's time to take it and expand it and print and put the money press into play. Masterminding is one of the fastest ways to come up with strategies to scale your business. And so it's not always just overcoming some of the problems. It can also be positively taking your business to the next level, or 10 times the next level. So what really is masterminding? Well, it's about sharing insights to help your peers. When you're running masterminding meetings, it's important that you realize all ideas are good. That doesn't mean they're all good ideas. It means when you're collecting the ideas, when you're gathering down, whether it's on paper or on software like we use, Mind Manager, made by MindJet, doesn't matter. However you're capturing the information, you want to capture all ideas as good. Excellent, good, next, love it, next, good. And you want to positively reinforce the sharing process of everyone who's doing that so that they will share openly. This is really important. My experience in years of masterminding is that the best ideas, when you look at it later, often come right after some really silly and or stupid ideas. At least to me, in my mindset, when I look at it later, it's like, oh yeah, where'd that come from? Right after that? Oh man, that was a weird idea. And that happens over and over and over again. Those of you in Back 9 Board of Advisor chapters, I'm sure you've experienced this already, that sometimes the best ideas come right after some of the silliest or weirdest or stupidest ideas. I personally recommend you use Mind Manager software because it's simple and easy and it captures all your notes in one spot, and it still has the visual representation taking notes like the brain. There are other software that you can use out there that's cheaper than Mind Manager, and you can also just use a piece of paper and a pen. But you definitely want to track it down when you're doing it. And your job as the facilitator, if you're running a masterminding session, is to pull ideas out from the participants. Your job is to pull ideas out from the participants. So whatever you do, however you do it, all the way through the process, remember your job is to pull those ideas out from the participants. So what does that mean? That means it's not your job to share your ideas. So if you're working on a particular topic and you've got a lot of ideas you want to share, you probably will be better served, unless you're an expert at this, you're probably better served at actually stepping aside from running the meeting or running that mastermind session and participating in one of those masterminding sessions. Okay? So that would be my advice to you, to actually consider that in your model. So we're going to talk about 3 ways that we mastermind here at Back 9 Board of Advisors. And we would encourage you to do this, whether it's with one of our chapters or on your own, because each of these are different and distinct ways to take the power of masterminding to an entirely new level. I'm also going to share some insights for those of you in the chapters on how to get the most out of the masterminding sessions. The first one, and what most people think about when they think of masterminding, is new ideas. We're going to brainstorm some new ideas. And so you focus on 10 to 20 ways minimum to help the participant achieve their goals. So let's say the goal was to get some new clients in this particular area. You brainstorm a minimum of 10 to 20 ways to do that. And then you would drill down on some of those ways and say, okay, if we're going to use social media as one way, let's drill down. How do we use Twitter? How do we use Pinterest? How do we use Instagram? How do we use LinkedIn? How do we use email? How do we use viral email marketing software like List Eruption and so on? You drill down on each of those ideas and you basically fill the map with as many ideas as possible to help the participant reach their goals. The focus is all about giving ideas and giving ideas and giving ideas and giving ideas. And so if you're writing physically, every time an idea happens, you draw a line on the branch and have it already ready for the next idea. If you're doing it in Mind Manager software, you hit enter and you're ready in the next box, ready to get the next idea. And then really important, at the end of the process, you want to ask the participants, how does this apply to you? How does this apply to you? How does this apply to you? And get some reinforcing sharing from the other participants. This is really critical because the best benefits of masterminding often come to the people that aren't the focus of the mastermind if they're thinking, how does this apply to me? How does this apply to me? And you could guide the question. You could say, what's 2 or 3 ideas in this list that would apply to your business that you hadn't thought of before? Okay, and then they could share. Well, I hadn't thought about using our rack cards as a strategy to generate leads, but I could see how that might work. Whatever the case may be, you want to guide them or just ask them openly, but you want to reinforce that behavior for several reasons. Number one, no matter whether you do small group masterminds or large group masterminds or really large group masterminds, you're tapping into the collective wisdom of the room. And in order for them to understand that wisdom is more than just helping the person they're focusing on, it really helps to encourage them to address, how does this apply to them? You get a much more powerful mastermind. And in our format at Back 9 Board of Advisors, the version 4.0 starting in January 2014, we actually are scheduling this in every single meeting. It's that important. It's that important to have the participants share these insights in every single mastermind session. So next, masterminding execution. Masterminding execution. So if you've done a new idea, a mastermind, and you got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 ideas, what do you do with that? That's not getting it done, that's just a bunch of ideas. So then you have to get left brain away from the meeting, and you have to prioritize the ideas, do some research, do some homework, find out. I don't know anything about Instagram. I don't know that could work. What would that work? What's the primary target audience in Instagram? Who are the Instagram people like Shalene Johnson and some of the experts out there that could make Instagram work? You want to find out and do some homework, and what you do then is you narrow down the list to a new idea of all the new ideas to 3 great actionable strategies. 3 great actionable strategies before you would start your masterminding execution. In the case of Back 9 Board of Advisors, we actually have whoever was focused on the new ideas come to the next meeting a couple weeks later with their list narrowed down. If you're doing this on your own, just don't do it in the same session. That's all I ask. Because the analytical left brain narrowing it down process, it can completely get you out of the creative brainstorming process. And so my advice is, and we tried, but my advice is don't do the same topic, new ideas and execution at the same time. At least take a break in between if you're going to do that. So now you've narrowed it down. You got your top 3 strategies. Okay. So the facilitator, right, if it's you, would focus on how to absolutely, positively reach the goal of the number 1 on that list with multiple redundancies built in. If you've ever watched the video I did on how to absolutely positively achieve your goals, it's one of these insights that I had a few years ago that I realized cost me millions of dollars not knowing. And that is, you don't plan to achieve your goals if you want to achieve your goals. You have to plan to achieve your goals multiple times over with multiple redundancies built in. And that's the only possible way to achieve your goal every single time. Multiple times with multiple redundancies over and over and over again. And so that's what happens in this section. You'll take the top strategy, and then you'll build and you'll brainstorm all the things necessary to absolutely positively reach that. And what you'll find is, if you really tap into the power of masterminding execution, you'll come up with 10, 15, 20 ways to achieve that goal, to absolutely positively achieve that goal from every single direction. And you keep on going, and you keep on going, and you keep on going. And you go until time is up in your allocated time slot, or the participant is totally sure, absolutely certain the target will be met with the ideas they now have. And then if you still have more time, you move on to number 2. You move on to number 2. And if you get time, you go to number 3 and you're like a hero. But you want to get absolutely positively to the participant. And then, of course, as in all the masterminding, if you're in one of our chapters, you then get some group shares. How does this apply to you? How does this apply to you? What are a couple of ideas that we came up with today that you hadn't thought of before that you could apply to your business and reinforce the application to all the participants in the room? The last masterminding we do in Back 9 Board of Advisors is masterminding your Dream 100. As it says here, the fastest way to change yourself is to hang out with people who are already the way you want to be. So the Dream 100 is what we talk about. And the Dream 100 has 2 components. It has key influencers and your ideal target market. So what is the Dream 100? The Dream 100 is a list that you create of the 100 people and organizations that if they became raving fans about you and the work you do and the impact you make, would have a profound impact on your business and your life. Okay? So they're not necessarily celebrities or politicians or media stars, although, depending on your business, they could be. They could be. But more likely, they are people that are in your ideal target market, that have massive scale they can bring to the table, or they're key influencers, outside people that you would never be selling, but if they became a raving fan of the work you did, would have a profound influence on what you're doing. Recently, I was talking to a gentleman who works with 4,500 accountants in Australia. He's putting together a book on one of their investment strategies in Australia with the top 3 experts on this topic in all of Australia. And he's blown away that they're prepared to work with him, but he's so excited because the deal is they're going to send this ebook on a retirement investment strategy that's really popular in Australia to every single person on their list. Thousands and thousands and thousands of accountants. In fact, between these three experts, they have all of the 10,000 plus accountants in Australia on their databases. Right? An incredible opportunity of key influencers. And so Sal, this guy's name, had worked his Dream 100 to the point where he's built a relationship with each of those three people and then presented them with this project, and they love it, and off they go. So if you haven't already done your Dream 100, you want to take time to work on your Dream 100. And for those of you in back 9 chapters, if you don't have someone with a person to talk about, it simply means they haven't done their Dream 100. So take time on this part of the agenda to actually start building your Dream 100 list. But once you've got your Dream 100 list, you then use Masterminding to reach out to them. You help a person reach someone of high value. You brainstorm all the ways that you might be able to get a warm, friendly introduction to that person. You note I said warm, friendly introduction. This isn't about total strangers sending them an email and you're trying to reach, some media celebrity, because that's not going to get through to them, chances are. Right? This is about warm, friendly introductions, working your circle of influence. Now, today, you should be online. You should have LinkedIn. You should have some of the social media sites you're part of so you can put their person's name in it and see if they're part of that organization. Because that could be a way that you can meet someone that's connected to them so that you can get an introduction. LinkedIn has an entire process for this with business people of getting an introduction to somebody else, where you can actually get a direct introduction to someone else in that process. So the key here is to focus on how to get a warm introduction or how to create a warm introduction. And we often call this the 6 degrees of separation exercise because it's based upon the philosophy that we are all connected 6 parts or steps away. Every single person on the planet Earth is connected 6 steps away. And when we do this session live in our Quantum Business Golf seminar, we found in a room of 20 or 30 people that we can have a direct connection no more than 3 or 4 steps down to anyone's come up with. And we've had people come up with, for the purpose of the exercise, Richard Branson, the Queen of England, Donald Trump, people that you would think would be a very difficult step, and yet still found a way to do it. So this is a very powerful way to leverage the power of masterminding and the shared wisdom and experience of a group. And the larger the group, obviously, the more powerful this can be. I've seen this done with 1,100 people in a room. And if any one of you ever want to do a mastermind group with 1,100 people in a room on the Dream 100, you got to do a bunch of things differently. Call me, reach out to me, and I'll take you through the process. But essentially, you break up into small groups and then have emissaries visit the other groups. It's a very, very cool exercise. All right, extras for experts. Extras for experts. I'm going to share some strategies for you advanced mastermind people to make sure you get the most out of your experience. Number 1. Oh, and by the way, this is because you're following in the footsteps of those of us who've done a bunch of this. That's why the footstep image. Number 1, the best ideas come when you run out of ideas. Many people think the best ideas come when there's nonstop ideas flowing, and they often come up with really good ideas. But my experience, if you're good at masterminding, is the best ideas come when there's that awkward silence, when ideas have stopped flowing, and now people are thinking, and they're throwing stuff out, and they're being creative, and they're throwing stuff out, and they're being creative, and they're throwing stuff out. So do your best to get to that. Next, you can prompt the process along as a facilitator if you're good at what you do, but just remember, it's not about you. So rather than suggest an idea, ask a question that leads someone else to offer that idea. This is an art. This is a process that takes some practice, but if you can do it, you can actually get way better masterminds going, because you can have all of your ideas that you want to bring up, but you can actually prompt other people and ask questions. Oh yeah, what about that? Well, tell me more. How would that work? Well, what about this? What about that? How would that work? And if you ask questions that prompt the process along, you can actually get your ideas coming from the participants. And that will engage them even more in the process, and even more creative ideas will come. Next, help the participants monetize the potential impact so they create follow-through leverage. Follow-through leverage. So John, if you're able to reach out and have that conversation and turn the head of the housing group in Denver into a raving fan of you and what you do, what would the impact be on your business? Well, it would do this and this and this and this. Yeah, okay, but if you were to monetize that, like, are you talking a 10% increase in sales or a 50% increase in sales? Oh, 4 times. Oh, okay, 4 times your business. So for the rest of us, what's that mean? Oh, 2.4 million. Got it. 2.4 million more business for John if he follows through on that strategy. Give John a hand. And you lead the applause and reinforce that impact. Right? Reinforce that impact. If someone's sharing an insight in new ideas they hadn't thought of, and you could say, well, Susan, if you were to apply that to your business, what do you think the impact would be? And then you probe and you probe and you monetize and you probe, and you just take 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds. It doesn't have to be a long time. And it's just best guess, but it's their best guess. And this is critical because what that does is create that follow-through leverage for who? For them. The follow-through leverage for them. So they apply this. And when they apply it, they get results and they go crazy. Next, encourage wacky, crazy ideas. In the franchise business, I used to call this encourage stupid ideas. And the reason I would use that term purposefully was if we'd thought of it, we'd have done it. And so we either think it's a bad idea or a silly idea or a crazy idea or a stupid idea, depending on where it is on the continuum, or had never even considered it in reality. But some of the best ideas come from what at first looks wacky and crazy and insane. Right now, we're in the middle of giving away $1 million worth of franchises to military veterans. When the idea first came up, it looked like a crazy, wacky idea. It's already proven to be a great strategy, and we've only given away 2 of the 40 franchises. So now we're looking at other ways to do that in other segments and other industry categories. That's how much we like this idea already. So for you, and that's giving away franchises in a business where we sell franchises for a living. That's pretty wacky, pretty crazy. In fact, some of the guys on our team still think we're crazy about that. So what are the wacky, crazy ideas? Encourage them, because often the best idea comes right after some wacky, crazy idea. And as an expert facilitator, remember, your job is to draw out the quiet participants. They're a key part of the process. Oftentimes, they're like that mallard duck on the surface of the water. They're just sitting there, but underneath their feet are paddling away. They just don't want to interrupt. They don't want to jump in. That's not their personality style. So it's your job to reach out. What do you think, Martin? What do you think, Fred? What do you think, Heather? What's your next idea, Heather? Prompt the participants. Prompt the participants to share and share and share. And it doesn't matter whether they're sharing good ideas or silly ideas or stupid ideas. It doesn't matter. Just that they're sharing. The more they share, the more they engage. The more they engage, the more the other people in the mastermind will engage. And our final thought for today, remember, when you're feeling stupid, take a moment to remember there are people out there who think the space program is fake and professional wrestling is real. So stupid is always relative. Stupid is always relative.
And as always, Wealth Creating Wednesdays is brought to you by Get It Together Masterminds. If you're interested in taking your business to a whole new level of profit, fun, and even residual income, considering joining Get It Together.
And thanks for joining us today.